In this video, I'll give you the top waiver wire players to target going into week 6. I'm Jim Coventry of RotoWire. Let's start out at quarterback. Kirk Cousins has not passed for more than 241 yards in any of Atlanta's first 4 games, but the quarterback had that massive game against the Buccaneers. Of course, he's not going to have another 509-yard game with 5 touchdowns, but Cousins is getting in sync with his receivers, especially Drake London and Darnell Mooney. So yes, Kirk Cousins can be a borderline fantasy starter if you need him. Matthew Stafford is next. He's been dropped in many leagues. Certainly we have the issue with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua missing time. That said, the Rams are on a week 6 bye, so there's no game this week, but making a preemptive move on Stafford, knowing Kupp should be back soon, maybe not after long, we'll get Nacua back. Definitely want to make a preemptive move if you need quarterback help. Next, look, if you're in a super flex or 2 quarterback league, every quarterback has important value. So yes, Aiden O'Connell has to be brought up. There may be very little upside. Aiden O'Connell took over for Gardner Minshew in the 3rd quarter of the game against the Broncos. Didn't do a whole lot, but it's not going to take much for the Raiders to decide to maybe move past Gardner Minshew and give O'Connell a shot. Therefore, he has value. Joe Flacco, we bring him up again. Maybe Anthony Richardson is back in week 5. Maybe they rest him another week, but also remember, Anthony Richardson now in 2 seasons has shown a significant injury history. So whether you have Joe Flacco as a stash, if you're rostering Richardson and keep Flacco in case, or Flacco, again, maybe he's not even on the waiver wire, but if he is and he makes another start, he has had 2 outstanding fantasy performances, so definitely would like to get him if you need quarterback help. Let's move to the running back position and start with Tank Bigsby of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, I'm not sure if Travis Etienne was dinged up in the game, but regardless, Etienne does not have 13 or more than 13 carries in any game this season. And Bigsby, yeah, last week, week 4 was 7 for 90, 1 long run kind of got him there. But this week, he goes 13 carries over 100 yards, finds the end zone. It's really to the point now where Bigsby is maybe performing a little better than Etienne. And maybe it's a style thing. Etienne's the faster back. Bigsby's a little more no nonsense. But regardless, Bigsby could be carving out a real role in this offense. And again, if Etienne's dinged up, that could be a further issue. But I think Bigsby could be here to stay, even as a flex option. But maybe he takes a little more, maybe even some goal line work. We'll see. The next player is Ty Chandler of the Minnesota Vikings. We do not know the status of Aaron Jones' hip injury that ruled him out after the part of the 1st quarter of the London game in week 5. But really, Ty Chandler is their main backup. He would have a lead role. He's not a very good back, but we saw last year. He can catch the ball. He'll get opportunities. And in this offense, definitely would have an opportunity. Again, this is if Aaron Jones, you think he's going to miss more time than the week 6 bye. He'd have 13 days to heal up. But again, Ty Chandler, you need running back help. You may want to make a preemptive move there, even if word on Jones is not clear. Next, Trey Sermon of the Indianapolis Colts. Jonathan Taylor has that high ankle sprain. We don't know how much time it'll cost. Teams are trying to sell these injuries as minor. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. But Sermon handled 16 touches, results in 63 scrimmage yards and a touchdown against the Jaguars. Most of that production came late. He didn't start out great, and he did cede some work to Tyler Goodson. But again, if you need running back help, Trey Sermon is a player who's getting some volume. Next is Tyler Algier of the Atlanta Falcons. Since week 2, it's 9 touches per game on average. It is a pretty consistent workload, but in the last 2 games, Algier has been on the field in high leverage situations when the game is in the balance, and Bijan Robinson has been on the sidelines. Right now, based on what we're seeing, Algier is carving out a role in this offense, and it's not just garbage time work. Next is Roschon Johnson of the Chicago Bears. Now, Johnson's averaged about 10 touches over the last 3 games. Change of pace runner to DeAndre Swift. He scored 3 touchdowns in the last 2 games. Isn't getting all the goal line work. Swift is being used there as well. But that said, Roschon Johnson's in a clear number 2 role. There's value there. DeAndre Swift is under 4 yards per carry against Carolina. He had that 1 great game against the Rams, but it's not the most firm hold on the job. Johnson can carve out a little more work, and if Swift missed time, which has happened in his career, Johnson can move into a more voluminous role. Jalen Wright of the Miami Dolphins should be looked at. Now, the Dolphins are on a week 6 bye. Devon Achane suffered a concussion in week 5, left for the rest of the game. He'll have 13 days, 14 days to heal up to be ready for the next game in week 7. But that said, Raheem Mostert's already missed time and has an injury history. Achane from last year has an injury history. Jalen Wright played well in week 5. If there's any opportunity to slide into the lineup, and especially if Tua Tagovailoa hopefully comes back in week 8, it could be a situation where Wright is a good stash to have on your roster. Blake Corum finally saw real touches. And earlier in the season, week 2, he had like 8 garbage time touches. The game was out of hand. Well, this week, Ronnie Rivers didn't see a touch. Blake Corum has only 6 touches, but that was the point. Corum, maybe the coaching staff decided he's ready to get some work. Don't forget, Kyren Williams is getting a ton of work. He missed 7 games as a rookie. He missed 5 last year. He broke his hand, Kyren Williams, in the NFC wildcard game. He's very fragile, and with all this work, if he misses time, and Blake Corum is in the trust of the coaching staff, could get a role. Tyrell Tracy goes for 129 yards on 18 carries against Seattle, taking over for an injured Devin Singletary. Now, Singletary may be back soon, but that said, even if he's not, maybe Tracy deserves a look from the team. It might be worth rostering him in that situation. Maybe he's better than Singletary. Don't know, but it's possible. Tyler Goodson back to the Colts. He would back up Trey Sermon again if Jonathan Taylor misses time. Goodson had 8 touches for 57 yards, played well early in the game. Again, if you need help, could be useful. Daria Ogunbowale. Now, maybe Mixon's back. Maybe Damian Pierce is back. But if they're missing time, Ogunbowale is a very good pass catcher, out-producing Cam Akers easily in a PPR league, averaging 3.5 catches and 48 scrimmage yards over the last 4 weeks. Ogunbowale, again, if Mixon and Pierce continue to miss time, would be useful. Justice Hill, he's getting at least 6 touches in the last 4 games. Low volume, catches some passes, averages 3.4 receptions per game. Low PPR fill-in. Finally, this is a real deep one. Amir Abdullah. If we see the continuation of Zamir White missing time, Amir Abdullah stepped in behind Alexander Madison. Abdullah had a really long run, which isn't going to happen much, but he had 5 rushes, 3 targets, 51 yards and a touchdown. It's depth. If you enjoy videos like this, please consider hitting the like button and subscribe to the RotoWire Fantasy Football channel on YouTube. Also, you can check out all of our fantasy football content and rankings. Get a free 2-day trial, no credit card needed. Head on over to rotowire.com/Jim. Check out our content. Wide receivers, Michael Wilson of the Arizona Cardinals. 7 targets is his average with 60 yards in the last 3 games. It's a very solid average. He actually 5 catches during that time as well. Defense is focused on Marvin Harrison. Wilson is going to see some volume. He has a good floor. Ray McLeod plays almost every snap for the Falcons, averaging 4 catches and 44 yards in the last 4 games. Solid PPR floor option. Jordan Whittington of the Rams, 2 games, he's coming on, averaging 6.5 catches, 75 yards, 9 targets. Now remember, Cooper Kupp's going to come back soon. Puka Nacua. I don't know that Whittington displaces DeMarcus Robinson because Robinson's a good blocker. He fits the scheme, but Whittington could have a role here. He's showing well, and he's playing for McVay, and that means there's value. Next, Trey Tucker of the Raiders. If the Raiders trade Devontae Adams, Tucker could have enhanced value. Obviously, Adams has missed time already. Well, Tucker had 96 yards 2 games ago, 41 yards the game after that. Now against Denver, not so good. Denver's a brutal matchup, but again, matchup driven, could have value. Only if Malik Neighbors misses more time with a concussion, which may not happen. Darius Slayton reminded us he has a connection with Daniel Jones, 122 yards and a touchdown. If he has to make starts for Neighbors in an injury situation, Slayton could be game script dependent. Little Jordan Humphrey of the Denver Broncos is next. In 3 of the last 4 games, Humphrey has at least 37 yards. He is the 2nd most productive receiver, not saying much on Denver, but if you're in a pinch with the bye weeks, he's getting targets. Finally, a stash, Odell Beckham came back, didn't do anything at 2 targets, but if Tua Tagovailoa comes back in week 8, Beckham could be a speculative play. Tight ends, TJ Hockenson, look, he might be on the waiver wire. Somebody might have dropped him. Vikings are on a bye. It's possible he starts working his way back. If he's out there, don't let him sit on the waiver wire. Tucker Kraft, at this point, 2 big games in a row. Earlier in the season, it was like 3 targets or less per game. But with 2 big games in a row, clearly way past Luke Musgrave, reliable part of the offense. Week to week, it could be a little up and down, but really with the way tight ends going, roster him. Mark Andrews, he may have been dropped in some leagues. He had 2 goose eggs. But remember, those are the games the Ravens didn't throw the ball like at all, 16.5 attempts per game. But in the 2 games surrounding that, weeks 2 and week 5, when they did throw, 50 yards in each game. That's not bad. Tyler Conklin, 23 targets over the Jets' last 3 games, averaging 5 for 53. He's going to be active in the middle of the field. Tyler Conklin's worth an ad. Cade Otton, also 44 yards in the last 3 games for the Bucs. That could be up and down, but again, tight end landscape, need help. He's there. Cole Kmet, at least 3 catches in Chicago's last 4 games. It may be up and down with the usage, but again, at least 57 yards in 2 of the last 3 games. He's a very good player. And finally, Colby Parkinson, 25 targets in the Rams' last 3 games. They're on a bye this week, so don't add him now unless you have to make a speculative. Remember, Cooper Kupp's coming back and maybe Puka Nacua, so that could hurt Parkinson. But if you need help for week 7, he might be there for you.